You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode on the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. On today's episode, we're reviewing the second Ashes test between Australia and England. After just 6 days of this Ashes series, it appears the series is already done and decided. Australia have continued their day-night test dominance with an 8-wicket victory in the second Ashes test at the Gabba. It was a team performance with everyone chipping in with bat and ball and in the field. With Australia leading 2-0 up, they have one hand firmly on the urn. For England, poor batting, bowling and fielding contributed to their demise in this second Ashes test. Bazball, as we know it, is dead, and facing a 2-0 series deficit, you can also say that England's Ashes hopes are also dead as well. Joining me to dissect, discuss and unpack this second Ashes test is good friend of the podcast and Australian cricket fan, Jihan. Jihan, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks again, Jack. And I'm pretty happy that Australia are 2-0 up now in this series.
Well, yes, obviously. Both Australian fans, of course, you and me, Jihan, and it's good to see Australia 2-0 up in the series. That's taken off our cricket analytical hat off and put in our Australian caps on. But if we put on a cricket analytical hat on, you would say not to be surprised, really, as you know, many England sides have come to Australia and struggled. And the series is pretty much done after the first couple of tests, and the Ashes are decided by Christmas. So that's probably the case this time around. But it wasn't as crazy as it was in Perth, finishing in 2 days. We got another 2 days on this test, so 4 days. So 6 days in the series thus far out of 25. And it's provided some entertaining cricket, but also talking points for both sides. Jihan, as we will discuss in our review of the second Ashes test today in this episode. But first of all, Jihan, before we do that, let's have a look back at the match summary and how the match panned out in the second Ashes test at the Gabba. And England batted first and made 334 in their first innings. Not a bad number. Sir Don Bradman's highest test score. So something of significance there for England. Joe Root and David Warner too. Yes, that's right. His highest test score as well. Joe Root, top score of 138 not out. His first ever century in Australia. So he finally got the monkey off his back. And not a surprise to see Mitchell Starc taking another 5-wicket haul. He took 6 wickets and led the way with the ball for Australia. Australia, in their reply to England's first innings, all out for 511. And Mitchell Starc again, top score was 77, doing it with bat and ball. And Australia scoring 511 without a single centurion, which is one of those oddities and stats in the game of Test cricket that has happened on numerous occasions, but it's happened for Australia in this test. Brighton Cast took 4 wickets for England and led the way for them with the ball. It was a really tough outing there with them. England's second innings, they were bowled out for 241. Ben Stokes top scored with 50, and good to see Michael Nessa take his first 5-wicket haul in Test cricket. He led the way with the bowling for Australia in that second innings. And Australia just needed 65 runs to win. They chased them down easily in 10 overs. They finished on 2 for 65, and Steve Smith top scored with 23 not out off 9. And Gus Atkinson took the 2 wickets to fall. And Australia won by 8 wickets. And not a surprise to see Mitchell Starc player of the match for the second test in a row to follow up the player of the match in Perth. So that's pretty much what happened throughout the 4 days of this second Ashes test at the Gabba between Australia and England. Now, what were some of the key moments and key factors? Well, really, from my perspective, there were 2 key moments and factors that really decided how this test match ended up. You have to say the Mitchell Starc-Scott Boland partnership to extend Australia's innings into the nighttime period on day 3 to bowl under lights, where they took 6 wickets, was pretty much where Australia really hammered their authority in this test match. Not only a good batting display, but that partnership was able to help Australia bowl under lights in good conditions with a new pink ball, and it proved to be very decisive And the other key moment, end factor, was England dropping 5 catches. And that does, make a difference. And we saw that. And they could have had Australia in a different position. Rather than them scoring over 500, it could have been a lot different. So those were a couple of key moments and key factors that really helped put this test match into Australia's favour. A bit of work and graft from the Australian team, but also a bit of errors in the field from England and mistakes. So those were some of the key moments and key factors in this second Ashes test from the Gabba. Let's talk about Australia's performance in this second Ashes test, Jihan, and talk about how they went about their business. And you have to say it was a pretty good team performance with Bazball in the field. Everyone did their roles superbly. 2-0 up, and they have one hand firmly on the urn. The batting performance was pretty good. 511 was a pretty good score, a lead of 177 runs. Not the first time this has happened in Test cricket, that everyone in the batting order made double figures. And also, I think it's the third time for Australia that they have done this in this Test history. And also, it's one of those innings where a team has scored over 500 but not scored a century. So those are one of those weird stats and records that teams have. But they batted well. Obviously, Stark and Boland's partnership was crucial. And obviously, in the second innings, they only needed 65 runs to win, and they did it easily. Smith had a battle with Archer there. The bowling performance was pretty good as well. To bowl England out for 334 in the first innings was good. Stark taking another 5-wicket haul again. And obviously bowled them out for 241 in the second innings to only chase 65 was a good result. And it was pretty disciplined bowling across the 2 innings for Australia. Probably the second innings was probably the best bowling performance of the whole series from Australia, really. Really kept the pressure on England there, and we saw the results. Some good fielding. Alex Carey was good up behind the stumps, taking good catches and taking the ball cleanly. We saw Josh Inglis with a run out there of Stokes in the first innings, which was instrumental. Sort of reminded me of the Nathan Lyon run out to James Vince in 2017-18, Jihan. And that changed that test match as well. And also Steve Smith's catch to get rid of Will Jacks one-handed off Michael Nessa in the second innings was pretty good as well. So it was a pretty good performance all round, Jihan. How would you assess Australia's performance in this second Ashes test from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the batting was fantastic, and ironically, the highlight of it was the partnership between Stark and Boland towards the end, where they basically said, "We're going to get ourselves in. We're not going to take any chances," because they knew that they wanted to bowl in the third session. So their attitude was like, "We've already got a bit of a lead, but we're just going to keep going." Not give you any kind of easy ways of getting us out, and we're just going to stick in and delay you getting us out as much as possible, which is exactly what they did. And it's not to say that they just stood there and blocked the whole time. That Mitchell Stark, when the ball was in his area, he was he was quite happy to be hit the ball over the top, through the covers, over mid-off, and it was fantastic. I mean, I've got to say that was one of the best performances I've seen from Australia batting done in the lower order. And the whole time I was thinking, how close can you really take this to the night session? Especially when they lost the 2 early wickets, when Carey and Nessa got out pretty early. I was kind of thinking, well, take it as far as you can, but you're probably going to get the ball about 30 overs old under the lights. But they just didn't get up. They just kept going. They just kept going and going and going. And England, lost the plot. And I was disappointed that Stark didn't get to 100, but he batted really well. And it makes you think, like, if those guys can bat like that for so long and not look bothered, it makes you realise how flat that pitch was. And it was a really flat pitch. probably one of the flattest pitches I can remember in Brisbane for a long time. When you see Zach Crawley like driving the ball on the up through the covers, fourth ball of the match, at the time I thought this looks a pretty good surface. This looks pretty good. How are Australia going to get these, bowl well on this? That's what I was thinking. But yeah, I mean, Australia batted well through the innings, but one of the things that they didn't do was none of the top order went on to get 100. They a few of them threw their wickets. Well, they got out when they could have gone on to get 100. I thought like Marnus was one of them. I thought like he got out in the sort of fashion that he did against India last year when on 7. Like how you got
sort of poking at the ball. Yeah.
Yeah. He got a couple of 70s last year. He got out exactly the same way when basically there was 100 there for the taking. Cameron Green probably played the worst shot of the match.
Yeah. Well, he probably did, And at that stage, when he got out to Bright and Cast, the partnership that he had with Smith was pretty good. It was 95 for the fourth wicket. And if they kept going on and on, that would have been a lot bigger than it was. Yeah, but he just didn't need to play the shot at the time. It was poorly executed and probably not the right option to that delivery from Cast. And obviously Cast saw him back away and knocked over the stumps.
Yeah, so that was a poor shot. I just think if one of the top order. I mean, he got 45, right? And he looked
pretty good up until that point.
Yeah, up until that point, he looked pretty good in Perth as well. So it's one of the disappointments for me in this match, at least, is none of the top order have gone on to get hundreds. When it looked like they could easily do that. Steve Smith, he batted so well, and then he got out.
Well, he was a bit unlucky to get out when he did. It was a very good catch from Will Jacks.
He was a bit unlucky, yeah. So they're going to test him out with that short ball, and he got it around the corner, and he just got it in the wrong place, and only just. I mean, Jacks only just got there, but yeah, it's just those three. I felt, particularly Marnus and Smith, they looked set for hundreds at that time, and I reckon if either of them or both of them got hundreds, that would have put England completely out of the match. But yeah, in the end, the tail did everything that Australia needed to do at the time. So yeah, it was fantastic performance from the tail. And when I look at it, I actually don't think the ball did a huge amount under the lights. New ball, old ball.
No, it didn't, especially when Australia bowled with the new ball.
Yeah.
In the second innings, England were off to a bit of a flyer. There were none for 40-odd, and it looked pretty flat.
Exactly. There was no prolific swing. Crawley and Duckett they were going at 7-8 runs and over before the dinner break or tea break. Dinner? Was it tea? The final break.
One of the two.
Yeah. There was no prolific swing. If anything, there may have been a tiny bit of nip and sea movement under lights, but nothing untoward, I wouldn't have thought. I kind of get this feeling that it's sort of when you're facing the ball under lights. I think it's more of a what's the word? Like, it's more of a worry than an actual thing that's actually something to be worried about. Like,
yeah, it's more psychological, really.
Psychological, yeah, exactly, yeah. I think it is, particularly in Brisbane, because I have seen the ball moving around a lot in Adelaide under the lights, and one time in Canberra as well. And I think they played day night in Canberra, but I don't think it really moved around that much in Brisbane.
No, it doesn't in Brisbane. In Adelaide, it does. The pitch is different. I think they had a 3 mil of grass on this pitch in Brisbane, whereas in Adelaide they have a bit more to cushion and keep the pink ball newer for longer, whereas in Brisbane it's quite a harder surface and abrasive surface.
Yeah, I get the feeling it's more of a psychological thing when you play the day-night game in Brisbane. And one of the disappointments for me, actually, I think I said this to you at the time, after day one, so one of the good things that Australia did in this match was they just ran through the tail in both innings, except for that last wicket partnership between Root and Archer in the first innings, and they put on 70 for that last wicket.
Yep.
And at the time, I thought, they got from a score of 260 to 330. And I thought at the time that's a huge momentum shifter. So I wasn't too happy about that. But I think the whole thing about bowling under the lights is a little particularly in these Gabba day-night test matches, I think it's a little bit of a myth. I think people worry about it more than it actually is going to be an issue. And Zach Crawley and Ben Dockett showed that when they came out to bat, and I think they scored about 45 in about 6 overs or something.
Ran about 7 overs, 48 when Duckett went for that first wicket in the second innings. So it was a good clip at the start.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay, yeah. So before, when we talked about this preview for this match, I said all Australia need to do is put a score on the board. If they put a score on the board, England's batting, Bazball will do the rest for them, and they managed to do it. They got they got 500 on the board. They got 500 on the board. You're not losing many Test matches with 500 on the board, even though England scored 300 on the first innings. So. They were just really good, and the bowling was really good in that second innings when Stokes and Jacks were batting together, and it had gotten really flat, and the ball was soft, and it wasn't really doing much. And I thought Boland and Nisa really stepped up there. All they did was just bowl line and length. Consistent line and length, and they're known to do that. And Ben Stokes scratched away to a 50, and got his 50, and then called the rest of his batsmen weak men. But after telling him to slog for about 4 years, but that's a different story. But no, that was really good, and Alex Carey's performance was great.
He was magnificent behind the stumps. I don't think he has. Often wicketkeepers don't get the attention, Jihan, but for Carey, he deserves this attention because that was some of the best keeping I've seen up to the stumps to quick bowlers in a very long time.
That was amazing, but I think people forgot about that catch he took off Guy Atkinson in the first innings.
Oh yes, running back and Marnus colliding with him.
Marnus did his best to get him out the way and stop him from catching it, but that was fantastic. That was one of the best Sky catches I've seen for a long time.
Well, it sort of comes back from his AFL background, running back with the flight of the ball and taking a mark as you would do in AFL. So for Carey, it's a bit of the AFL sort of thing in there, and that's why he caught it easily, really. They're not easy, but looking over your shoulder, but
easier than most.
Easier than most, but that was a good catch. And then obviously the catch that he took of Ben Stokes in that second innings off Nessa was good. And just his overall glove work was excellent. Brad Haddon, Ian Healy. I think Adam Gilchrist said it was like wicket-keeping porn or something like that. Jihan, he said that on the broadcast or something. I heard that said by someone. But, you know what wicket-keepers are like when they see a wicket-keeper do well. Yeah. And it was really good. And it wasn't like that at the start of his career, Carey. When he made his debut against England 4 years ago, he took all those catches. I think he took 8 on debut, which is the most ever by an Australian wicketkeeper on debut, I think, at the time. And then as that series progressed, he dropped a few catches and people questioning about his technique and all that stuff. Ian Healy said a few things about that. But since then, he's really improved as a wicketkeeper, and he's batting as well. His 63 was vital, and a good partnership with Nessa, which was over 50. Disappointed to get out when he did on day 3, but it certainly made the difference, and he put in a good performance.
I think, look, he batted well. He got 63, but he did take a lot of risks. He got dropped. I think he got dropped once.
He got dropped twice.
Was it? Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
He was dropped by Duckett. He was on North. That was
he got dropped first ball,
cast.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then he was dropped again by, Joe Root.
But that was
when he was on 25 off Gus Atkinson. But I wouldn't say that's Joe Root's drop catch. I would say that's probably
No.
Jamie Smith, because he should have went for that. That was sort of the keeper's catch. But
yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was
let it go through the gap and Kerry.
Yeah.
Well,
when the first slip is like dropping it on with his right hand, diving, either he's standing way too wide or the wicket keeper's not doing anything to get there. And that, you're absolutely right. That was the keeper's catch. So that I would put that down as Jamie Smith's drop catch. But yeah, I think they go on about how many drop catches I think they dropped 5 catches, right?
Yeah.
The only ones that really would have cost him were the Carey ones, and also Head when he was on 3 or something. But like that would have cost 30 runs for Head, 60 runs for Carey, so that's about 90 runs in total.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone else that they dropped, they got out pretty quickly after that. But yeah, I just I think the lower order, they did really well to get the score to 500.
Yeah, they did. They did. They stuck in there, did their job, and that's what you expect from tail enders, and they did it superbly. And all of them faced over double figures in terms of balls faced. Mitchell Starc faced the most balls in the innings, 141 for his 77. Nessa faced 41. Boland 72 in the partnership with Starc. And Doggett faced 21. So they dug in and they hung in there, and they really made England toil.
I was critical of Mitchell Starc's shot in the first innings at Perth. And I said if he's going to bat at number 8, he needs to take a little bit more responsibility than that. But he didn't do anything like that in this innings. This time he was just like, nope, I'm ducking under the short ball. I'm not playing any shots that are going to be that's going to be high risk. And if the ball's in my area, I'm going to hit it for 4, which was great. It was awesome to see.
Definitely. Speaking about Mitchell Starc, Jihan, quick word on him. I think we ran out of superlatives to describe Mitchell Starc in this series. He's player of the match twice now. He's taken 18 wickets in this Test series thus far, in this Ashes series. He's scored runs. He's taken wickets. Obviously, I think we know he's going to be a player of the series. It's just a given, regardless of what happens. But, what can we say about Mitchell Starc, Jihan? We can't say much about him, can we? Because we've already used up the superlatives.
Yeah, I mean, I was worried he wasn't going to be able to put in a great performance after he batted for so long, because it was warm, it was hot and humid. He batted for so long, and he was clutching his side a little bit when he first started stretching.
He has mentioned about that. I think he just said it's just when he bats, he's got a bit of a rib sort of thing there when he bats for a long period of time. So
yeah,
he said it was all right. He's had it before, so he's okay.
Yeah, no. So that was good, because I think he had a few overs. Smith took him off, and then stuck with Nisa and Boland. And then when he wanted him to come in and try and get the breakthrough, that's exactly what he did with. Who did he get? He got Root, didn't he? He got Root.
He got Joe Root, and then he got Jamie Smith for the 2 wickets he got.
Yeah. So, and someone I think interviewed him afterwards and was like, "How's the body?" And he was like, "I feel old."
Well, he's in his mid-30s, so
yeah, it takes me a little bit.
It's fair enough, he can have a rest as long as he likes. Mitchell Starc, he's been on fire in this series.
Well, he said it takes him a little bit longer to front up, like after a day's play, but it doesn't take me that long to get going again, so it's fine. I'll be fine. Fantastic performance, and I was impressed by the way he batted as well. I think he obviously wanted them to take it into the evening session as far as they could. Well, when you look at it, they wanted the ball to be as new as possible when the lights came on, right? And it's kind of like, how far, literally you have to bat so many overs to get it into that perfect spot where you've got the new ball under lights. But that's what they were focused on, and in the end, that's what they did. When
Carey got out, it was the 83rd over of the innings, and Starc, when he got out, was the 110th over. So it just shows you how important the Stark and Boland partnership was and taking up time. It wasn't about runs. At that stage, Australia were in a good position. A lead of over 170s, good enough. That's excellent.
But it also makes you think, like, when you're batting on a really flat pitch, and this is one of the flattest pitches I've seen.
It was pretty flat.
Yeah. When you're batting on that flatter pitch, it's not that difficult to stay in, even if you're tail ender.
Well, it was also helped by England's tactics as well with the ball bowling short.
Yeah,
not bowling it up.
They were bowling a lot of rubbish.
But still, it's one thing to face that, but to have the ability to survive is another thing. But they did it well, and they just did the basics well, which, unfortunately, with England, which we'll talk about in a moment, haven't done that in this series, Jihan. So Australia taught them a lesson in terms of how to bat in Test Cricket 101.
Yeah.
But
the tail enders taught them that.
Yes, really. And Australia could have had four centuries, I think, maybe 5. Weatherall, Labuschagne, Smith, Carey, Stark. You know, if they went on and scored hundreds, it would have been a lot bigger than 511, maybe over 600, 700.
Well, this is the thing. I think in the next Test match, I really want Australia to be more ruthless than they were. Like, I think the top order we need 1 or 2 hundreds. Want someone to get a 150. And it's not. Does it look difficult to do that? Like, they're getting themselves out more than anything. Like, than England, like, getting them out.
Well, you could argue that some of them got good balls, like Josh Inglis, for example. Yeah, he got bowled by Stokes. That was a pretty good ball. Nothing he could do there. But Travis Head, got himself out, hit one in the air. Weatherall got out LBW. Marnus did that thing where he poked outside off stump. Smith was unlucky with that short ball. Either side of Jacks, he would have been fine. Green's dismissal was poor.
I think
Carey nicked off.
At least Marnus and Cameron Green, maybe Smith. Those are hundreds for them too.
Oh yeah.
In making
the way they were batting, you would say they were on for hundreds.
Yeah. Well, I think they were like 290 for 2 or 290 for 3. Only 40 runs behind, 7 wickets in hand. That's where you have to, hammer the nail in, so to speak. But they just lost a couple of wickets at the wrong time. So to be able to do that, but I mean, it's not like England like massively came back into the game. It was just like they opened the door a little bit, sort of thing. Where as opposed to driving the nail in, which I think. In Adelaide, hopefully they can do that.
Yeah. No, definitely. A quick word on Michael Nessa.
Yes.
Gee, it was good to see Michael Nessa get the rewards. His 3rd Test match. All of them have been day-nighters, in fact. And, 3 Test matches, his first 5-wicket haul. He may not play again. It's not a bad way to finish if that's the case for Michael Nessa. But he bowled pretty well. The wickets, obviously, getting Jacks. Brilliant catch from Smith to his left, one-handed. Carey's catch off Stokes. That pretty much opened the door, really, and Australia were able to wrap up the innings quickly. So a quick word on Michael Nessa, Jihan. Obviously, good to see good people get rewarded.
No, I mean, he was very good. I think both Nessa and Boland were really good in that session where they were trying to get the breakthrough when Jacks and Stokes were batting together on day 4. And all, like pretty much all he did was bowl line and length, bit of movement consistently, and he got his rewards. I've been told that he's more of a swing bowler, but there wasn't much swing on offer in this Test match. But yeah, he just did everything that he had to do, and I think Carey. Standing up to the stumps made a huge difference. I didn't really think about that in the lead up to the series, but I think it does. Like, if you've got, I mean, he's not a medium pacer. He's fast medium, almost. He's touching late 80s, sort of, but probably average about 85, 86 miles an But the thing is, the England players are just batsmen. They've got, they're just kind of try and get down the wicket, charge.
And it's a good tactic, obviously. Sorry to cut you off there, Jihan, but it's a good tactic, I suppose, with England's batters walking out of their crease to Scott Boland and Ness. And it's a good way to keep them in their crease and create that pressure, which Nessa did, when he was rewarded with those 2 wickets of Jackson Stokes by doing that.
I was watching some of the Edgbaston Test match from 2 years ago, and they were doing exactly that to Scott Boland. I was looking at his speeds, and they weren't that slow. It was like 85, 86 miles an hour. But on those, that pitch in Edgbaston where it was just doing nothing and the ball's not bouncing or anything, you could just get on the front foot and do that. So,
well, the pitches in that series were
very flat. Yeah. So I think, if you got the keeper up to the stumps, it just means that the England batsmen can't get down the wicket, and even in their stance, they have to be in the crease. And if you're brave enough, you can actually still walk down the wicket. You can actually still charge down the wicket with the keeper up. But then if the bowler fires it down the leg side, then you're, if he sees you coming, that's a leg side stumping there. That can happen.
And we saw that from Zach Crawley and Ollie Pope when they chipped straight back to Nessa and he got 2 caught and bowled. Because of that tactic.
Yeah, exactly. So, you're not going to be able to do that with Stark, Cummins and Hazelwood.
No.
Well, you could try, but it's going to be a lot harder. It was brilliant. And, I think Nessa just bowled line and length, didn't he? Just bowled line and length, a bit of movement.
Well, according to Rob Key, the comments he made about this are coming back to bite him, I suppose. That medium paces that dob it are not going to do it in Australia. Did you remember when he said that a few years ago about picking bowlers for this series?
Yeah.
Well, that's turned out to be the quite opposite, actually. And I suppose we'll talk about when we talk about England, Jihan, but Michael Nessa is that sort of bowler, and he's done pretty all right. And, pitches in Australia have changed since England were last here 4 years ago, and even going back to the previous series in 2017-18, nearly 10 years ago. It's completely changed conditions and the whole pitches around the country in Australia have changed dramatically. So, and Steve Smith did make a good point before the series. He said England have chosen the wrong bowling attack.
Yeah. And
he's proven to be right because of the way the pitches are. So we'll talk about that when we talk about England. Jihan, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves there.
Yeah, sure.
But that will be a talking point when we talk about England. But Nessa did pretty well, and he should be rewarded for his efforts and wickets as well. And it really justifies probably the non-selection of Nathan Lyon, Jihan. But I was in the camp of he should have played, and Australia got carried away with the analytics and all that stuff. Just play your best bowlers, and he's your best bowler, and his record against the pink ball's pretty good. He likes bowling in Brisbane. Australia probably needed him to bowl, not only for the over rate, but in the periods of where nothing was happening, especially in that second innings, they needed something different and, needed Nathan Lyon to bowl some overs of spin. And it did turn a bit. Will Jacks bowled a few overs where he got the ball to turn and grip a little bit. But your thoughts on that, Jihan? Obviously, Australia won, and people say that the decision to play Nessa was justified. But do you think it was the right decision in the end, or do you think Australia should have played Lyon regardless of what the tactics or the analytics say about his record with the pink ball and all that stuff that teams tend to look into?
No, I think it was the wrong decision. I think he should have played. I think he should have played instead of Doggett. I don't understand why you need five quicks if you're including Cameron Green in that. And they missed him. They missed him on day one when the wicket looked really flat. And there was a period where Harry Brook and Joe Root were going together, and it didn't look like either of them were going to get out. So they missed him there. They missed him in the second innings as well, particularly during that partnership between Stokes and Jacks. Yeah, and I think I said before the series he should play. I said he should play all 5 Test matches. I said the only one where I can possibly envisage him not playing was the Brisbane game because of it being a day and night test. So I was all right about that, but I still thought that shouldn't have happened.
Well, yeah, and George Bailey said this is a one-off, but really it's not a one-off because it happened in the Caribbean, didn't it? It happened in Jamaica, and where Stark and Scott Boland did what they did. Stark picking up wickets, and obviously Scott Boland's hat trick. So it's not a one-off. It's actually happened before. So,
and if you look at the previous especially that Brisbane Test match against the day-night Test match against Pakistan in 2016, it was when the ball gets soft, it turns pretty flat. So you need a spinner in that scenario. So I thought it was the wrong decision to drop him. I don't understand why you needed Doggett and Nissa, one of them maybe, but I didn't think you needed both. But that's okay. I think they got away with it this match. But going into Adelaide, he's definitely going to be needed in Adelaide. So you bring him back in, and I think both of them miss out. I think Nessa and Doggett both miss out to get Cummins back in. He was pretty annoyed about it. I think he came.
Yes, he said he was absolutely filthy because he wants to play every test, and rightly so. But I like that. I'd like to see the passion, and I like to see that rawness of emotion. So I think it was good when he gave that interview. He was honest.
It's good, and it means that he's going to come back and try to prove a point in the next test match.
Yeah, that's right. He doesn't need to prove a point, Nathan Lyon, because we know what he can do. But yes, in that perspective, in that sort of way, to say that he's still got it. And he does, he only needs one more wicket to equal Glenn McGrath and then go past him on Australia's leading wicket.
Yeah, apparently someone interviewed Glenn McGrath and was like, should he have been dropped? And he was like, yeah, he should have been dropped.
Nah, he's too old. Leave him.
and then someone was like, you just don't want him to go ahead of your record.
Yeah, well, I think Pitch will be happy nonetheless. Records are meant to be broken, Jihan, and he deserves it, Nathan Lyon, as well, being a workhorse for Australia.
Well, I mean, the way I see it is if Australia managed to win the toss and bat first in Adelaide, get a minimum of 400, maybe 450, then Lyon comes into the play in the fourth innings, and they get 400, 450. They're winning that test match pretty much.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. So to finish up about Australia, once again, pretty good performance, 2-0 up, and the team is on the way to retaining the Ashes, which is more likely that will happen. So that's Australia's performance in this second Ashes test. We'll move on now, Jihan, and talk about England. There's lots to unpick and talk about, but really, once again, poor batting. The bowling was atrocious. Probably the worst bowling I've seen for a very long time, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the fielding was absolutely poor as well, dropping 5 catches, and they cost them big time. And obviously, people questioning about Bazball. People have said it's dead, it's finished. People have mentioned all those things after the fallout from this test, Jihan. But yeah, Joe Root scored 100, which was great to see. I don't think anyone would begrudge him doing that. It was good to see him get the monkey off his back. They got 334 in the first innings. I thought that was below par. A lot of people said that they should have got 400 or something. And it turned out to be the case when Australia scored 500 in their innings. Second innings, they were under pressure. They lost early wickets in the nighttime period. They lost 6 wickets. Didn't bat well. Poor dismissals. And they were all out for 241 and set Australia 65 runs to win in the end, which wasn't going to be enough. Australia did it in 10 overs. They showed a bit of fight and resistance. Stokes and Jack's partnership offered some restraint and resistance. But once they got out, it ended pretty quickly. Ollie Pope and Zach Crawley's dismissals in the second innings to Michael Nessa, caught and bowled, set off that batting collapse, in fact. And obviously the Bazball approach is not working as it should. The bowling, terrible. The Stark and Boland partnership sucked. the life out of the England bowlers, and in that first innings, and Archer fired up in the second innings to Smith with his few words that he said to Smith, and Smith had a classic line to come back. You're bowling fast when nothing's on the line, champion, which I thought was a pretty good sledge there from Smith in the end to get his sort of revenge, I suppose, in that little battle. But it was terrible. 5 drop catches. They didn't do themselves any favours in the field, and it was terrible bowling. They bowled far too short and wide. Australia scored too many runs on the back foot, pulling and cutting. They bowled short. They went to that tactic early. And Ben Stokes looked pretty clueless as captain. And I think his captaincy was exposed, really, Jihan. So your thoughts on England, Jihan? There's nothing much to say, really. It's just the same problems from Perth, and they've crept over to this test match in Brisbane, really. So, what's your summation on England's performance in this test match, Jihan?
Look, I'll start with the positives because there's a few, but there's a lot more negatives. But Joe Root batted really well. He showed that you can stay in, score 100 without taking too many risks. On, let's be honest, a really flat pitch on day one, or throughout the test match, if I'm honest. Fourth ball of the match when Zach Crawley's driving Mitchell Starc on the up through between cover and mid-off, and he's nailed it to the boundary. I thought at the time, this looks like a belter of a pitch. And yeah, they both batted well together. Joe Root just didn't take any risks, really. I mean, he just played a normal cricket innings, drives, cuts, flicks off his legs. It was only towards the end that he started playing the funky shots, like the reverse scoops and stuff, when he was with the tail. But it was just a standard test match innings. I thought Zach Crawley played really well as well in the first innings. Even in the second innings, he played well. But yeah, they just they all seem to get themselves out when they're playing well. So that's the problem. So Joe Root's look. If I'm going to look at the positives from England's performance in this match, it's obviously Joe Root's 100, Zach Crawley's performance in both innings, the 76 and the 44. England's bowling was absolute rubbish. It's the worst bowling performance I've seen in so long. Watching all teams, it was just, I think I said, and the two culprits, the two perpetrators were Brydon Carson and Ben Stokes himself. They were the worst. And I said in a comment on one of the threads, their stock ball was short and wide, and the variation was a half volley. And I throw in a couple of full tosses from Ben Stokes, and that's the ultimate absolute trash when it comes to bowling. And it was both of them were going for 2 or 3 boundaries and over, and sixes.
What were their comedy rates? Let's see. Yeah, so Stokes was 4.7 and over. Cast was 5.24 and over.
So both of them were so bad. And ironically, their figures in the series are the best for England. I said at the start that Brydon Carson, I reckon he's going to be their leading wicket taker. And he is. Somehow he's got 9 wickets.
But
second to Mitchell Starc.
Well, his average is high, very high. I don't know what his average is.
No, actually, his average is not bad. I think his
really?
is 30. Yeah, I was looking at the stats. His is 36. Or hold on, I think one of them is 20, one's 36.
I know Gus Atkinson's is 200 or something because he's only taken.
But Atkinson and Archer, their averages are like really high. Like even though they've bowled so much better than the other two, it's just, the reason for that is even though Carson bowled actually absolute rubbish in this match, he managed to pick up 4 wickets, and then Ben Stokes got those 5 cheap wickets in Perth, so that's like boosted his average. But yeah, I mean, the threat for Australia, the threat in terms of bowling for England is Jofra Archer. Australia got to be worried about him. I think, to me, he's the only guy that's really going to pose a proper threat. Gus Atkinson wasn't as bad as Stokes and Carson in this innings, but he did bowl a little bit of rubbish, but it wasn't that bad. Like, not as many boundary balls, but yeah, Jofra Archer. I think people. When I was looking through the innings, and obviously we remember it as Weatherald and Head getting off to a flyer. But actually, when you look at it, the first 3 overs were maidens, and I think the first 7 overs or 8 overs they went for about 20 or something. So they were going at less than 3 runs and over. And I was at the game. I was watching. At one point, I was like, "They're going at 6 runs. What is happening here?" I didn't understand what was going on, because it was literally like a boundary every over, a boundary or 2 every over, or a 6. And I was like, "This is ridiculous," because I thought England scored quickly in the first innings, but this was something else. Australia were like scoring at 6 runs and over.
Yeah, it was at 6 at one stage, and then it dipped to 5, and then it dipped to 4 towards the end. But that was only with Stark and Boland trying to eke out the innings.
And then when I went back and looked at the highlights, they were literally going so fast because England were bowling absolute rubbish. And it was Carse and Stokes, just short and wide, some half volleys, some full tosses. And actually, people have had a massive go at Jofra Archer for not showing the right attitude or whatever, because... And it's actually quite unfair that they're sort of making it seem like he bowled 150 when in that last innings, but he was only bowling 130 in the first innings. That's actually not true. I was looking at the speeds and how he bowled in the first innings, and he was still pushing 90 miles an hour in the first innings. When he had bowled 4 overs, 2 maidens, he would have had 1 for 3 if Jamie Smith held on to that catch from off Travis Head. So he actually he was the only one that bowled really well. He bowled really well and looked threatening. He was the only one that looked like taking wickets. Gus Atkinson wasn't too bad in terms of leaking runs, but he didn't.
Well, he had a couple of catches that were dropped off him. He could have had Travis Head on 3. Sorry, my mistake. That was Archer. Sorry. He could have had. He could have had Carey. He was dropped for the second time on 25. If Smith went for the catch, but Root went for it in the end. So he would have picked up another wicket than he's won. But,
Archer was good. And I was looking through the stats, and Archer has the second lowest economy rate in the series. I don't know who the first is. It's not Mitchell Stark. It's one of the Australian bowlers.
Yeah, it must be.
Oh, Nessa.
No, it's Nessa. Nessa, yeah. It would be Nessa, yeah.
So Archer has the second lowest economy rate. He bowled 25 overs, and I looked at this. I go through stats. He only went for 10 boundaries. So he was threatening. He didn't go for a lot of runs. I did notice that he was getting really tired and knackered towards the end. Like, I saw him in the field. He was struggling to get to
he bowled a 7-over spell.
Yeah.
At one stage.
I mean, it's understandable. So
you can understand, a bit of desperation from Stokes and wanting to bowl his strike bowler.
Yeah,
but
so I think
it's the risk of him getting injured as well.
It's a bit unfair to say that he's not really trying. He doesn't care, and he only decided to show up when he had the new.
I suppose people question that because of his body language. He's from the Caribbean originally, and people from the Caribbean are quite relaxed people. They're easygoing. Life's a bit slower in the Caribbean. If that makes sense.
The thing is, I think this is
different way of personality and looking at things.
Exactly, it's a different culture, and I think at the same time, it's a way for the English fans, or not so much the fans, maybe the rest of the team, the media, to get on his back. And it's it's a little bit unfair because, and a little bit in the same sense how they went after Kevin Peterson, because he's not really English or whatever, but Yeah. So I thought the criticism towards Archer was it's really unfair when he's the best bowler. Like he's the one that looks like is gonna get you out, like get the Australians out.
Yeah.
And you got all these other guys coming in bowling rubbish, including the captain. And then people are going after this guy just because he brought a pillow in, and then he bowled really quick on the last day. So I thought
that's sort of like maybe he wanted to prove a point about that with the pillow incident, or maybe it was in relation to what Stokes said after the game. I don't have weak men in my dressing room. I'm going to have some chat with some players. I don't think we needed to know who they were. Maybe Jofra Archer was one of them. So maybe
that's what some people are saying.
Maybe he wanted to prove a point, and maybe Ben Stokes had a chat to him before that second innings to fire up Joff.
Yeah,
we need you to do something. So that's my theory. That's how I look at it.
But as an Australian fan, I'm worried about Jofra Archer. I was watching that spell in the second innings, right? And this was before it all kicked off with him and Smith. And I was watching that. I was in the airport at Brisbane. I was watching it on my phone. I was watching it. I was thinking, this looks quick. I was thinking, this looks quick. And I was looking at all the speeds. I was like, 149, 150, 151, 152. I was like, this is quick. Like, and I did
the fastest he's ever bowled in Test cricket.
Yeah, so. And it did go down as the fastest ball he'd ever bowled. But you could tell even before I heard that, you could tell just watching it. This is really quick.
He doesn't look like he's going to bowl that sort of speed because of his run up and how he goes. But
he's just he just has that ambling action, and then he can bowl really quick. But his rhythm was perfect, and he was just going in and bowling like that. And I was actually because you're watching it, and it's like 60 runs. I was like, come on, guys, just get it over and done with. That's what I'm thinking, like as an Australian fan.
Well, Steve Smith did. He had a couple of boundaries and had a few words with Archer and said, bowl fast when there's nothing going on, champ.
Yeah, and that was a perfect sledge as well. That was such a good sledge. Like when I was watching
the game was done.
The best sledges are true when there's an element of truth in it, right?
Yeah.
And there was an element of truth in that.
And maybe in a way, maybe England sort of embarrassed themselves. And I know Ricky Ponting said probably Jofra embarrassed himself by doing that, because the game's done. People expect that to do what you did in the first innings, but he didn't. And you wait until the second innings of the match where the game's done and Australia just need a handful of runs to win. That's why people are a bit upset about it.
Yeah, I don't mind what, him putting in some effort and actually trying there. They could have all rocked up and bowled half volleys and got it over and done with and not really cared just to get it over and done with because they know they were going to lose. But yeah, I don't mind him putting some effort in there.
No.
But at the same time, I wouldn't be sledging one of the best players in the world just because he missed an uppercut. You know what I mean? Like if he was fending off his face and looked uncomfortable or played and missed, then you get in his face and say something. But when the guy's like clearly in the zone and he's already hit you over mid wicket for four, that's not the best time to do that. But that's from a strategic side of things. And I didn't like Ben Stokes sledging Weatherald either. That was That was just it was unnecessary, and because Archer was obviously mouthing off at both of them, and Weatherald I think said something like, "If you're going to say something, say it to my face."
I suppose it's good from Jake. It's only his second test, but he's not afraid to stand up for himself.
Exactly. No, that was great. And then I think Stokes said something back to him like, "Yeah, you got 70 in the first innings, and now you're chatting," or something like that. And then Jake said back to him, "Well, if you got something to say it to my face." And then you know what Stokes says back to him is like, "Well, at least when I'm sledging, I've got a smile on my face." I was like, "The hell does that mean?" Like, what is that supposed to mean? Because I'm smiling.
I thought he was. That probably wasn't unnecessary. To do that.
It wasn't necessary. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Maybe he could have.
Oh, and the other thing that people didn't pick up on, not many people have talked about this, but in that over, he he was setting the field, obviously for short bowling, because he just looked like he wanted to hit both of them in the head, right? And he's setting the field, and he doesn't know the rules about the 3 behind square on the leg side rule.
Yeah. And
he starts asking Steve Smith at the non-strikers end, can I put a fielder over there? And Steve Smith was like, what? What are you talking about? What do you mean? And he was like, can I get Brookie in over there? And then the umpire was like,
then you have more than 3 behind square on the leg side. You can't have that. It's a no ball. If he bowled the delivery.
Yeah, but he was asking if that was the rule on the offside.
The offside doesn't matter. It's just the leg side.
No, it doesn't matter on the offside. But he was asking Steve Smith, and he was asking the umpire, and Steve Smith was just like, "What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean?"
Well, I think it's just maybe his mind was frazzled. I think Stokes. It was a tough test match for him personally. Yeah. And the press conference, he said we have to be ready for Melbourne, and people paid him out in the comments and said, "The next test is in Adelaide, not Melbourne." So I think you're a bit lost there, Ben. But that comes back to his mind. He's got a lot of things in his mind. And I thought it was interesting what he said after the game. There's no weak men in my dressing room. And what Brendan McCullum said, we over-prepared and all that stuff. What's your take on that, Jihan, about Stokes' comments after the game, about there's no weak men in my dressing room? I'm going to have some chats. Well, and about Brendan McCullum's, observations about they over-prepared, in his words, in the lead-up to this test match.
Well, Ben Stokes, I think
he sorry to cut you off there, Gian, but he doesn't necessarily do that to his players. He tends to defend his players, but on this occasion, he didn't do that. He was pretty ticked off. It had to be said.
Well, the thing is, he's encouraged this Bazball crap nonsense right from the start. If you remember, in the first couple of years when he was doing it, he used to run down the pitch and randomly slog for no reason against New Zealand and stuff. Then he toned it in a little bit. He toned it back a little bit, allowed all the top order to keep doing it, including Root. Root was playing scoops, and but then when Stokes came in, he was blocking, like not blocking, but he was taking his time. And my mum, she's quite an astute cricket fan and analyst. She said to me once, this is a couple of years ago, how come he gets all the top order to play like that, and then when he comes in, it doesn't apply to him? And I said, yeah, you're right.
Well, he sort of did that in this test match, didn't he?
Yeah, he did exactly that in this test match. Yeah. And then so she sort of said it's all right for them to do all that, but when he comes into bat, he doesn't do it. And I was, because he doesn't play any high risk cricket, and I was like, yeah, well, I know he's captain, so maybe he thinks that he doesn't need to do it, but so
it does send mixed messaging.
It sends mixed messaging, but the other thing is, you instill this philosophy or this way of playing into the top order over those years and say this is what we're going to do, and you even do it yourself initially, which is what he was doing, to say this is what we're going to do. I remember him just running down the wicket and slogging randomly against New Zealand a few years ago, when it made no sense at the time. And his whole thing is, this is how we're going to do it. But then after a while, once everyone else is doing it, he stops doing it himself. And then now, when they're in a position where they're losing because of that, then he knuckles down, blocks out a 50, scratches around for 50, and then goes into the press and says that they're all weak men. That's not leadership, is it? That's throwing your guys under the bus. And it's so funny.
Maybe that's something you would do behind the scenes, not in the public eye.
Yeah,
really.
And all the media,
and that's only creating more pressure on yourself anyway.
Yeah,
you don't have to do that. That's unnecessary pressure that he's put on himself and the team by saying those words.
Exactly. And the brainwash media, BBC, they're all going, oh, what a fantastic innings from Ben Stokes. He really showed he was tough today. He showed the toughness of the England team.
Yeah, no, it's just whenever I see Ben Stokes, I don't know, it looks show-offy in a way, I think. He just all about me. Like when he was bowling in the first innings, on his haunches, and he was cramping, and he took that electrolyte that tasted like vinegar, according to Mark Ward, because he tasted some, and he said, I'll put it on my chips to relieve cramp. I don't know. That's just sort of what I sort of see from Ben Stokes, I think.
Yeah, one of the great cricket videos I watched today, I think, they started talking about all the mannerisms of Ben Stokes, like all the sort of show-offy kind of things, and it's exactly what you were saying, like the swinging around his leg and all this sort of stuff, like on his haunches when he takes a wicket, all this sort of stuff. Like, and I was listening to that, I was like, yeah, they're right. It is all about look at me sort of thing. I'm doing everything for the team. So look, I one of the things that Jason Gillespie said before the series was he didn't think that England's plans as a fielding captain or as a fielding side were, like, he felt that Ben Stokes, obviously as a captain, he loses patience. There's a plan every 2 overs if he doesn't get a wicket, and he said you just need to. I think he was coaching one of the subcontinental teams. I can't remember which one, but he was saying
Pakistan.
Yeah, Pakistan. Yeah. It must have
in
been
the recent series that they played. Yeah, and they won Pakistan in the end. Yeah,
I think he said that we just played on their patience, basically.
I heard that too at the time, because when Diz did an interview after that series, he said we just played on England's ego. And they just get bored easily, and they change their plans. So that's right.
I also kind of thought that, because everyone was praising Ben Stokes' captaincy, and he did have this ability, particularly in like previous series in Pakistan, on those really flat decks, and even a little bit in England when nothing's really going on. Like, he did have an ability to kind of buy a wicket with short bowling, short pitch bowling, or weird fields and that sort of thing. But like, I kind of thought, like, if you're doing that against a quality side, they're not going to fall for this nonsense. They're going to be able to get through that. And, one of the pundits, Australian guys that I really respect a lot, is Ian Chappell. And he's so,
well, he's in favour of Bazball.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He's so quick to criticise Alistair Cook and Joe Root's captaincy, but he holds Ben Stokes' captaincy on a pedestal. And he was talking about this before the series, and I watched that. I thought, I'm not really sure about that sort of thing.
Yeah, I did watch that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's usually spot on, but I don't think he probably didn't see this sort of thing coming.
Well, I think so. He probably didn't predict that this was going to happen, but his captaincy has been all over the place in this, probably since Perth in the second innings. From now, it's been.
I don't understand the short pitch bowling.
No.
When has short pitch bowling ever worked against Australian batsmen?
Not really. They're pretty good pullers and hookers.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is, if they continue this in Adelaide with the short square boundaries, it could be carnage. Especially against Travis Head.
Yeah.
He'll be hit, he'll be flicking it over square leg for 6 every ball.
Yeah. You can't do that in Adelaide, no.
No.
Short square boundaries. No.
Do you think they're going to take that into consideration?
Probably not. I think they have a plan and they have a method where they want to take wickets, and that's what they're going to do. I don't think they'll change at all, really. They're pretty stubborn. I don't see them changing their bowling plans. They think, we'll bowl the way we've been bowling, we'll get wickets. Well, that hasn't worked. Can you at least hit the stumps, challenge the stumps, make the batters play every ball rather than leaving short balls or scoring off the back foot through point and backward point and square leg, backward square, which Australia did in this test. Their pitch mats were horrible. Everywhere. It was scattered everywhere. They bowled far too short. They've got a plan. They've got a method. They're going to stick to it. And that's the sort of whole ethos that they had going into this series.
Well, as I said,
and you have a look at Australia.
Yeah.
Who had the most success in the game for Australia with the bowling? It was Michael Nissa in the second innings.
Yeah.
A fast medium who had the keeper up to the stumps. And Rob Key said years ago, we're not going to take those type of bowlers from county cricket and play them for England in this series because you need pace in Australia. Well, the pitches have changed. You know, Michael Nessa is very effective, as we saw in this test on a flat pitch that didn't do much. He got rewarded with a 5-wicket haul. So maybe England need to, you know, think about that for the next tour, really.
Well, I think,
to
be honest, like if you're playing Test cricket properly, whatever the pitches are like, consistent line and length is going to win over consistent short pitch bowling.
Well, they can't do that, Jihan. That's the problem. They can't bat for long periods of time, and they can't bowl with patience.
I
don't
think they're good. I don't think they're good enough to bowl line and length consistently.
No,
and that comes down to a skill issue.
I agree. I think it comes down to skill, but also mentality.
Yeah,
and having that resilience to be patient. Because Bazball's been built up about we want to advance the game forward, we want to be in a rush. Test cricket's not it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Look what Australia did. They bided their time. They took their time and were patient, and they were rewarded. This England side don't have patience. You see Ollie Pope batting for 3 hours like Stokes and Jacks did. No. You knew he was going to get out in that second innings. You knew what was going to happen when he was playing and missing, and there were a few edges there. And I was like, God, he's going to get out here, caught either in front of the wicket or behind, and he got caught out. He got put out of his misery.
Yeah.
When he chipped it straight back to Nessa, and he threw his head back, and I was like, why are you throwing your head back?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have played the shot. You shouldn't have drived on the up, which was your problem in Perth. You did that in Brisbane, and you got yourself out. I'm sorry,
as if he didn't see it coming. It was as if he didn't see it coming.
I sounded a little bit angry there, Jihan, but that really, annoyed me when he.
I was watching that in my hotel room, and I just kept thinking to myself, he's gonna get out soon. And the thing is, I thought I was being like really profound in thinking that, but literally everyone was thinking that, right? All the cricket pundits were thinking that. And yeah, as you say, like when he threw his head back, and it's just like, what was coming? You can't just keep tempting fate. Someone said, I can't remember who it was, one of the podcast guys said that it's almost like he likes to practice his dismissal before it actually comes.
Yes, I did hear that too. Yes, that's a bad thing to do as a batter. Should be practicing how not to get out. Yeah. In a way, it sort of is, but I was like, you shouldn't be surprised. It was going to happen that way, and it did.
But look, I think what I would say is I don't think Australia should be take things for granted. They shouldn't take things too easily, because I reckon in England's batting, if they get on a flat wicket in Adelaide, if Joe Root can score another 100, and if one of Zach Crawley or Harry Brook, who've both got starts in this series, if they can just manage to go on without doing something stupid before they get to 100, that could be enough to get them 400. And then in the bowling side of things, Australia just needs to keep Jofra Archer out. Because I look at Jofra Archer bowling, and I'm just like, we just need to keep this guy out, and then we'll be okay, sort of thing.
No, I agree with that. But the big question mark is, can they do that, Jihan? I don't see that happening, to be honest, with the way that they've been going at the moment. I just don't see.
I think a lot of it's going to be to do with how the wicket plays in Adelaide. Like, it's not the flat track that it used to be in the mid 2000s.
No. I think people should realise that it's not what it used to be. It's not like 2006-07 Amazing Adelaide. It's not that flat.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of something in it now. And we'll talk about that when we preview the third test. But you're going to get runs and wickets, and the pitch is going to offer something for the bowlers. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I think look, if you're worrying about England's batting, as I know Zach Crawley played 2 dumb shots in this test match, but he did score 120 runs, so he did get himself in. He did all right. Yeah, so I think if those guys can get in, Harry Brooks scored 50 in Perth. It's going to be to do with if those guys can go on to get hundreds with Joe Root. Like Joe Root has to get 100 as well. And then if they get a score on the board, that's when they could probably put Australia under a bit of pressure with Jofra Archer.
Yeah, definitely. But we shall see, Jihan. We shall see. Yeah. And that's the big question mark. But a quick word on Brendan McCullum before we move on.
Oh, yeah, you asked about
his comments about over-prepared.
Yeah.
You think England over-prepared, or do you think he's just saying that to deflect the tension away from the team because they're under pressure, being 2-0 down? Or do you think that he could have chosen some different words to say than over-prepared?
I don't know. Like, I get the feeling that when he's being interviewed, he doesn't really care that much.
Well, he's that sort of person. He's laid back and he's quite relaxed.
Yeah. Just seems to come out with these weird sound bites that make him look like he's not really interested or he doesn't care that much.
And he also used some horse racing analogy as well.
Yeah.
In his comments as well. So
yeah, exactly. So it almost feels like he's deliberately trolling the media. But I don't know, like whoever took to Brendan McCullum that seriously.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people question about his playing career.
Yeah.
And people say he's not really a coach, really. Well, he had this philosophy when he was playing for New Zealand, and he sort of did it with his captaincy with New Zealand as well. It sort of stemmed around the whole Philip Hughes tragedy.
Yeah.
Where it made him realize about cricket and life, and that happens when we experience those things in life. So that's how Bazball and his sort of philosophy sort of started. It stemmed from when Philip Hughes passed away and New Zealand were playing that test match against Pakistan and the UAE. And
because Philip Hughes died, he decided to slog 300, basically.
No, just to not care as much for failure and express yourself and be free, and what he's doing with his England team. So it sort of stemmed from that. And it changed his whole perspective and outlook on the game after that event happened. And that's why he's sort of, with this philosophy he's built with England. And to be honest, it worked in the early years, but now it's been found out and they only have one dimension. It's a bit one-dimensional, and teams can plan accordingly for what England are going to serve up because you know what they're going to do.
Yeah. I think a lot of the recent comments have been tone deaf. But I feel like he's saying them so confidently that he feels like he's gonna get appealed to get away with them. I mean, the English press and the English media, they're not going to protect him because he's a foreigner. He's not English.
No, they're starting to turn on him as well recently. Yeah. So that's true. But he is under pressure, and his job is in doubt. Let's say he's got another 2 years to go on his contract.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he says to the players going into these third, fourth, and fifth Test matches.
Yes,
is he going to keep saying this run to the danger nonsense, or like?
Well, you're not going to run towards a tiger, are you? You're going to run away. Metaphorically speaking. I think that's just his way of saying to the team, take the game on, and that's just how he phrases that, which is fine. That's his own way of expressing that. But it does look a bit weird when you look at it from afar.
Yeah. Look, I think the other thing I'd say about England's batting in particular is that if they stop this, trying to run down the wicket, backing away to leg and smashing through the offside like Harry Brook does, Bazball essentially, if they stop that, are they going to be able to survive with their defensive techniques? I'm actually not too sure about that.
No, techniques have been found out in this series.
They have been exposed, which they've been able to get away with for so long in England because they're playing on these slow, low roads.
Not so much in Australia, where the wicket does appear.
Yeah.
We've seen that in Perth and Brisbane.
Yeah, if you go for it, Ben Duckett first innings, I think they're going to be targeting his outside edge, outside off stump. He doesn't leave any balls, so you can do that in England, but in Australia, you're going to be able to target that and try and getting caught in slips and gullies, and that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
Ollie Pope, you just have to bowl the ball a bit wide, and he's going to go after it. How do you get out in the first thing? Chopped on. That was a terrible
chopped it
shot.
on with an angle bat at 45 degrees, which is asking for trouble.
Terrible shot. Harry Brook played that ridiculous shot in the first innings, but second innings he got out nicking behind, and that was a technical error as well because his foot was stuck in mud. It's not getting forward to that,
No,
I don't think the ball did a huge amount.
He's not a big mover of his feet, bro.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, he's very static. He doesn't move his feet at all.
Especially when he's driving as well. He doesn't move his feet. It's just all the hands, and he's asking for trouble, and he's nicked off in this series because of that. So that's a weakness exposed by Australia.
Yep. Jamie Smith in both innings. I don't think that ball from when he got bowled off bowling, I think it was. I don't think it did that much. It was just a straight ball. But straight through his defence. Second innings against Stark, that's almost a half volley. It's not getting forward. He's playing from the crease, nicking behind.
Yeah.
I just think even if they try to survive, at some point they're going to nick off.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
it's
just
inevitable, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm just hoping that Adelaide has a little bit of carry and a little bit of nip.
It will. It will.
Yeah.
It will. It will have some carry and bounce in it, as it does. That's the mistake that people make about Australian pitches, Jihan. Oh, they're all fast and bouncy. Not really. Perth and Brisbane are, but Adelaide and Melbourne and Sydney aren't. But they do have pace and bounce in them in some way. So, we shall see what happens.
The MCG was flying through in that T20 against India the other day, though. The other day.
And the wickets have been good in Test cricket there in the last few years. So they've really upped their game. Sydney, bit of lottery. You don't know what you're going to get. Maybe another lively pitch like we got against India last summer, which did plenty. Went up and down, and they tried a different grass on something like that. So let's hope the curator gets it right this time around. But anyway, we shall see what happens there. So that's England's performance. You have to say pretty poor performance yet again from the England team in this second Ashes test.
I think
Gian?
I think looking at England, they've basically got about three and a half good players. So if you Archer, Root, let's say Crawley and Brook make up one, so that's three, and I'd say half between Pope and Duckett. So 3.5 players.
Yeah. Well, they haven't got much to choose from, really. So, and that's a perfect segue for us, Jihan, to preview the third Ashes test in Adelaide, which is a day test this year. It's not a day-nighter because we had that in Brisbane, so it's a bit unusual. Yeah. But the Adelaide Oval wanted a day test to accommodate Christmas before. They wanted to get the Christmas test, basically. So before Christmas, really. So that's why they went for a day test this summer. So first of all, let's have a look at the stats between Australia and England. Test matches at the Adelaide Oval. The first test was back in 1884. 33 matches. 5 of them have been drawn. Australia won 19. England have won 9. And a pretty good record, you will have to say, for Australia. But in recent years, England tend to do better in Adelaide. I think it's one of the grounds in Australia that they have the most success on. I heard that from somewhere. So they do have some success here. Whether or not that will happen again this time around remains to be seen. But for Australia, Jihan, some selection queries. Obviously, we know Pat Cummins is back and Nathan Lyon will return. So those are 2 definite inclusions. The other question is about Usman Khawaja, whether or not he gets an opportunity or not to open the batting or come in the middle order.
Yep.
You would think Brendan Doggett or Michael Nessa will probably miss out for Cummins and Lyon. I know that's harsh on Nessa, but I do see them playing a role in the next two test matches if Australia decide to rotate and rest their bowlers. So your thoughts on the Australian 11, Jihan? Do you think they'll get Khawaja back? There's been some talk about that. Or do you think, stick with Head and Weatherald? It's done pretty well in the series. If we choose Khawaja, we're going a bit backwards. And we want to get that momentum at the top of the order, which has flowed pretty well for Australia in this series. So your thoughts on the Australian 11, Jihan, and what they may do there?
Yeah, look, my feeling is if they were going to be so quick to drop Khawaja in the scenario, then why did they pick him in the squad in the first place? And it's not like Inglis came in and scored a big 100 or a 100 to displace him from the side. Travis Head scored that great 100 in Perth, but he scored a 20 and a 30 in Brisbane, so it's not like he's nailed that opening spot down. And actually, he should have been out on 3 in the first innings if James Smith took that catch. And he's always going to be vulnerable to that kind of ball, like around the wicket, quick, angling away. And he did actually struggle a little bit. He was 3 off about 30 balls when he nicked that ball. And it was only when Bryden Carson came in and bowled 2 pies at him that he got going. So, yeah, I think, you've got to ask yourself, why was Khawaja picked in the squad in the first place? Do they think he's one of the top 6 batsmen in the country, number one?
Well,
do they think he's...
Yeah, sorry, go on.
And the second thing is, do they think he's one of the best openers in the country? So, and also, if what would you hold on to Inglis because of that run out? And the other thing is he batted at number 7 as well. So he's coming in as a specialist.
Yes, I thought he would have batted at 5, but he batted at 7, and they want to carry ahead of him. So
he's batting at number 7.
What was the thinking or rationale behind that? But that does tell something. Yes.
He also was a little bit edgy in that innings. He got dropped just before he got out as well.
Yes.
So I don't think he's cemented his place in the side after that. Whether Travis Head opens batting, I'm not sure about that. I think he's better off coming in down the order against.
Well, he has a good record at number 5 at the Adelaide Oval.
Exactly.
Very good record.
Yeah. It's going to be hot in Adelaide. He comes in, Jofra Archer's knackered. Second or third spell, short square boundaries. He could take the game away from Australia. Or do you want him in against new ball, nicking off maybe in the first few?
Yeah.
So
I suppose there's a counter argument there, because people would look at that and say he's better off at number 5 and Khawaja should return. Other people would say no, Khawaja will be 39 in this test match because his birthday falls on this test match. I don't know which day of the test, but it does. People say he's too old. And that's just the reality when you get to that age. And he didn't really look... I know he only batted once in Perth, and it was a pretty good delivery that he got. Nothing he could have done with that.
It's pretty hard to play when you have back spasms as well.
Yeah.
It was Carson.
Yes. Yeah. So people would look at that and say the partnership between Head and Weatherald, although it may not be a long-term solution, but for the series where you've got England on the ropes and they've got off to good starts in their small sample size, they put on 50 partnerships in all of the innings that they've played thus far, except for the second innings in this test match. But the second innings in Perth, the first innings, they put on 50 plus for the first wicket. People would say stick with that because it ain't broke, don't fix it. The England bowlers don't know what to do at Travis Head at the top of the order. The plans are all wrong to him. Then people say,
if Jamie Smith could catch, then that wouldn't be true.
Yeah, that's true. But if people have said if you pick Khawaja, that's a step backward. And I'm sort of in the camp with keep it as is. Because if Usman, his style of play is not really that aggressive, isn't he? He's sort of dig in and but you want that momentum at the top of the order, and it's flowed pretty well with Head and Weatherald. You see Marnus and Smith scoring freely. Cameron Green, okay, when he screws his head on, he's batting pretty well. Obviously, he has a bit of a brain fade here and there. Carey's a free-flowing player, we know that. Josh Inglis is the same. So I sort of like that momentum. And you've got the England bowlers rattled, and you want to keep that pressure on. It's a tough one. If he, if he does play, he has to be 100% fit. If he is, then he plays. I have no problem with that. But, the question for Australia will be, what's the right combination for us to win this test match? And I think with the current side that they have at the moment, it's probably the right way to go, with Cummins in line to come back. But it's up to them. It's up to the selectors.
I think I'm not sure, because I would be thinking differently if Josh Inglis came in and scored 100, or if Travis Head scored back-to-back hundreds, or even if he got a 70 or something with Jake Weatherald in the first innings. But the fact that he nicked off but he got dropped, and then he got out after 30 runs later, I kind of feel like he's wasted at the top of the order, because he's not exactly, as an opener, he doesn't have the same kind of.
Australia could have used him when they had that mini batting collapse. He could have come in and counter-attacked there, and he would have been pretty good. So,
no, exactly right. Yeah, and I just feel like Australia, if they can just blunt that new ball, or not blunt it, but get through the new ball without losing too many wickets, get Smith and Marnus into the game, who's scoring big runs, and then once the England fast bowlers come in tired, that's an opportunity for Head to come in and take the game away from them, which is lost if he's up the order. So I think for me, there's two options. You either get Khawaja back, open with him with Weatherald, or there's also, McDonald said that even Khawaja could back down the order, so you could have Head.
Well, he batted at number 5 in that test in Sydney in the last Ashes series and scored 200. So that's
he was never an opener. He was always batting for Queensland.
Well, he only opened because of Marcus Harris was batting at the time, and he wasn't doing well, so they decided.
He only opened because that was the only way they could get him in the side after he scored those 200s in Sydney. He was never an opener for Queensland. He was always batting at 4. So I think I think at the end of the day, you have to make a decision. Is he one of your best top 6 batsmen in Australia? You can make a call and say, no, he's not. He's too old, and then we get someone else in. But the person you get in has to be better than him, and I don't think English showed that in the last Test match.
Well, that's completely valid points there, Jihan. But I'm just sort of from that perspective, keep it as is and try and not make too many changes. Obviously Cummins and Lyon come in, that's 2. You don't want to make another one. You want to keep that continuity. And Australia like to keep the same structure, and they don't like to make too many changes. So, the Khawaja question is the one that they'll ponder.
What do you think they're going to do?
Well, I've got a feeling if Khawaja is fit, then he comes back in, then obviously they'll have Head back at number 5.
And Khawaja will open, right?
And Khawaja will open, really. Or they will stick Head at opener and have Khawaja at 5.
Yeah, it's a difficult question, because that
you have to weigh it up. You have to say, we're 2-0 up. We've got England on the ropes. Let's keep a good thing going, and let's not break it up. That's my concern with Usman. If he comes back and opens the batting, he'll let England bowl what they want to bowl, and they don't deserve to do that because they haven't bowled well in this series.
And he's struggled with pace bowling.
You want to keep the pressure on them with Head and Weatherald, who
the other thing
have put them under pressure and have scored freely and quickly. And that's the argument that people have made.
Yeah. The other thing is Khawaja struggled with pace bowling in the last couple of years.
Yes, that's right.
And if you got Archer
keeps jumping in. Yeah. So, he's not going to get better at 38, 39 playing fast bowling. It's just a fact. It's just reality. So I would like Australia to keep the status quo, obviously, for this series, and then have Travis Head go back to 5, and then look for a new opener, maybe Matt Renshaw or something, or Sam Constas or whatever. But for this test match, where you want to wrap up the series and win here in Adelaide, you're 3-0 up, Ashes are done, you've got England on the ropes. I just want Australia to keep with that momentum. Because I'm afraid if they get Usman back at the top of the order, he doesn't score, he puts pressure on Weatherald. England take wickets and they bowl well, and they start to get back into their groove of their bowling, which, to be honest, they don't really deserve that because they bowled poorly in this series. But I feel like with Head and Weatherald, they don't know what to do to them, and we saw that in Brisbane, and we saw that in Perth to an extent as well. But it's up to the selectors. They will come up with that. It's up to the Brains Trust. But if it was me, I would like Head to stay at the top of the order and keep that cohesion. And then you bring back Cummins and Lyon, which are 2 obvious replacements for Doggett and Nessa, potentially. Or Scott Boland if they want to rest him. But, we shall see on that front.
I mean, the other thing you could do, potentially, is bring Renshaw into open and Head at 5.
Yes, but do you want to do that halfway through an Ashes series with a new opening pair? That's the question as well.
Head and Weatherald aren't exactly...
no, but do you want to bring in Renshaw? He hasn't played a test in this series.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, but I mean, that opening partnership is just as inexperienced. They've had a couple of innings together. But I know what you mean. They've done okay. They've done well.
Yeah. So we shall see. So that's Australia. Let's talk about England, Jihan. Now,
I also feel like they don't every time they're questioned about this, they don't really seem to want to. They don't seem to know the answer.
No,
like Andrew McDonald.
But many people have said the answer's staring back at you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So we shall see what they do. Let's talk about England before we wrap up this preview, Jihan, of this third Ashes test. Are they going to make any changes? There's been talk about probably Tongue coming in for the bowling, maybe Cast to miss out. Jofra Archer probably won't play 3 in a row. Maybe Matt Potts may come in. Ollie Pope has been talked about being dropped for Bethel, but this England side tend to be pretty loyal when it comes to their selections, as we've seen in the Bazball era. Do you think they're going to make any changes, Jihan? Do you think it's going to make any difference to their performance? Personally, I think it won't because they don't have that competition for spots and no one's really under pressure. And, the replacements potentially may not do any better than their current teammates have done in this series thus far. So your thoughts on England's potential 11 and makeup for this third test, Jihan? What do you think they're going to do?
Yeah, I think you could potentially have Josh Tongue coming in for Brodin Cast, just because Brodin Cast bowled so much rubbish in that test match.
Well, I think we know they're not going to bring back Bashir to be the spinner.
No. The spinner will stay the same. I mean, to be honest, to me, I don't think Australia are worried about Wooljacks's spin bowling.
No.
He's just in there to be the specialist number 8 batsman, basically. But I don't. They say Jacob Bethel was an amazing talent, but I don't.
But he hasn't scored a first-class 100.
Yeah, that's true because he's not experienced. He did. I think he scored 70 in that Lions game. But I think I just don't think he's up to the rigors of Test cricket at the moment. Like, technically, even, from a pacing your innings kind of thing side of things as well.
Yeah.
You know what I would do? And people might say, "Oh, you're exposing Joe Root." I just put Joe Root at 3 and swap him and Pope.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want to bat at 3. He likes
I reckon you just tell him take the responsibility and.
Well, he did bat at 3 and he didn't like it. That was mainly when he was captain. He tried that, but he thought it was
the problem with Ollie Pope is that there's a word to describe the way he bats. Like, I think a lot of people. Well, I was going to say skittish, like
skittish or frenetic,
rabbit.
Or he's a cat on a hot tin roof, or has ants in his pants.
Yeah. All of those metaphors. But it's funny because I actually described him as that this time 4 years ago, but it was specifically against Nathan Lyon. Now he's doing it against all the bowlers. He's batting like that against everyone. So,
but there was some talk that he could take the gloves and Smith misses out, and he goes to back down the order pope because he tends to do better there because that really is a middle order player, not a top three.
Well, that's an interesting take, but who's going to take his top order place?
Probably Bethel, maybe. Or maybe some people have said maybe Jamie Smith to move up or something. I don't know. That's the problem. England don't really have the batting resources. The only batter that they have is Bethel in the squad, and that's it. They don't have anyone else they're playing in the series. So
I don't think Ollie Pope is technically terrible or anything. It's just that he doesn't understand the pace of the game, like how to pace your innings in Test cricket. I think
he had to go through the gears, but also he's a bit of a nervous starter as well.
Yeah.
Which has been a big problem for him.
Yeah, because I've seen one or two innings. I think he scored 190 against India. In India, I think.
Yeah, 196, I think.
Yeah,
and they went on to win that Test match.
Yeah, and it was frenetic and skittish initially, but once he got himself in, he was good.
He sort of did that in Perth when he scored the 40 on. He got in and he looked pretty good, and then he got out. So,
yeah, I don't know.
The problem.
I mean, I don't think that he'll get dropped. I think they'll just. To be honest, I think they'll pick the same side. They
tend to be pretty loyal and tend to stick with the players. We've seen that with Zach Crawley. People said he should have been dropped ages ago, but England have said, no, we'll back him, and they tend to do that. So I won't be surprised if they keep the same 11, but really, they just don't have anyone else, really. That's the problem. You know, Australia getting better. We've come into line coming back, but England getting worse with no one else coming in, really. Yeah. So, and I think if they do make a change, it probably won't make a difference. They'll probably play the same brand of cricket anyway. And they just don't have the skills. Quite simply, Jihan, I don't think they're not good enough in all departments. And they can't turn that over overnight or go to Noosa for a break or something like that. People have said maybe that would do the world of good. But what happens if they lose here in Adelaide, which is a possibility? It could be the same questions going into the Brisbane Test from Perth, like over-prepared or under-prepared and all this stuff. So,
well, I have this feeling that if Australia get everything right, this could be absolute carnage for England. Yeah.
And, you know, we saw in that second test that things are starting to strain for England. The elastic is starting to, you know, become very strained. And it's about to snap, probably.
Maybe a rift between Stokes and McCullum?
It maybe looks like that. Maybe some unrest in the dressing room when Stokes said those comments. It's not a surprise when you're losing. It happens on tour. These things happen. We've seen it from many sides in the past. Maybe they know their jobs are on the line as well, which is not a surprise from an England team touring Australia. Yeah, where their jobs are on the line. So, yeah, it's not a happy camp. Let's just say that, Jihan. But your winner, Jihan, for this third test. I think everyone knows what you're going to say, and I think it's pretty clear. But he's going to win this third test in Adelaide.
Yeah, look, I think Australia will win, but it's not completely over for England. They've got a few players in that side that could rattle Australia.
Sorry, come on, just say it's over. It's, yes, technically it's not, but historically.
Yeah, well, Australia are going to win, but I'm just saying, if Joe Root and a couple of the batsmen get themselves in, get a score on the board, and then Jofra Archer lets loose, then it could be difficult for Australia. That's all I'm saying. Yep,
no, that's a fair assessment. And Yeah, obviously my winner. Yeah, Australia to win. 3-0, retain the Ashes, job done, and hopefully, put in a good performance. Obviously, come into line and come back will make the team stronger, and certainly that will be the case in this third test. And England pretty much up against it and on the ropes. And
Do you think they'll win one Test match in this series, Melbourne or Sydney?
Well, I don't think
so. The reason I'm asking you that is because the schedule's a bit weird, where they've had like massive breaks between first and second and third, and then they've got 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So can Mitchell start back up, play all 5? Maybe not.
Well,
they're saying that Cummins may not be able to. He'll only be able to play 2 of the 3. Possibly the same with Boland. So, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same with England as well, Jihan, and their bowlers have bowled a lot of overs as well in this series. So they're going to be really digging down to their resources and reserves.
Do you reckon Stark will play all 5 or no?
He did last summer, didn't he? Against India.
Yeah.
He's durable. He's got the stamina. I think he can. He will want to as well because he's having a great series.
What about Boland?
So, Scotty, maybe that's the question. Maybe he may be rested for Adelaide and play in Melbourne.
Because people are talking about resting him for this match so he could be
good
for
so they could do that. And then probably Nessa would come in for a like replacement, which is not bad. Nessa gets another
I just think for this match, you just play your best side to.
Yeah, that's what I think. You just play your best side, play your best bowlers. And with Scott Boland in this bowling attack with Lyon, Stark and Cummins is the strongest attack Australia's got in this series.
But he doesn't really get injured, does he? Boland doesn't get massive injuries, does he? He's a bit of a workhorse, isn't he?
Not really. He's a good workhorse.
Yeah.
Really. Puts in the.
So maybe he could play the next 2 and then Sydney, someone else.
I don't think he would want to play Scott because he's missed out so much.
Yeah.
And he deserves every opportunity, He's done pretty well. So those will have the questions that they'll have to ask Australia. But going back to your question about will England win or whatever, I don't see it happening. I think many people, because I think that second test in Brisbane, when Stark and Boland were in that partnership, you could tell that England's morale and mental
heads dropped.
Yeah, basically. And when Ben Stokes said after the game those comments, but also he said you need hope. He didn't really sound convincing when he said that too. I don't think he said you need a bit of hope.
Yeah,
the hope is wearing thin for England. Yeah, I just think they're mentally gone, Jihan. Really. After that second test,
even now it's not even. It's only 2 tests in.
Well, it's only 6 days.
6 days.
They could be facing the record of Nasser Hussain to lose the Ashes in 11 days in 2002-03.
Yeah.
This team could lose them in less than that, and it's already 6. Even if we go the full distance in Adelaide, it's still going to be up there. So, yeah.
Well, I think if it goes full distance, it would tie.
It'll be tied.
Yeah.
But still,
it'll probably be over in 4 days.
Yeah.
I reckon it'll be over in 4 days anyway.
Yeah, like this one. So, yeah, I just don't see it happening, Gian. I don't think they can turn it around because the morale has already taken a hit. And quite frankly, it's very hard to change your mindset from something you've done for 4 years. It's very hard to do that overnight. So talking and reflecting and doing that, it's all well and good. But it's a habit and it's a mindset and a mentality you've developed for 4 years. It's very hard to shift that. So that's where I see it with England in terms of, being, Bazballing like this for so long. It's very hard to change your ways. So, and I think many people agree with that summary and what happened here in Brisbane in terms of their heads dropping, their body language. It didn't look good, and the writings on the wall. And Ben Stokes is a bit frustrated even during the game on the stump mics. He said a swear word of some sort. We can't repeat that on here, just to say to the boys, lift, and they didn't. So
you don't think that Jofra Archer could be a threat at some point? That's what I'm worried about, because the way he bowled in that last innings, I was just like, this is
not really. I don't think, because he doesn't do it
Yeah.
consistently enough.
Yeah.
He may not even play this test
Mm.
because I think he may play 3 max tops. He won't play all 5. So England will have to be wary of when he plays or not, because they don't want to push Archer too much.
If Australia need to get through his first spell, basically, and then make him come back for the second and third spell.
Like they did in Brisbane when he bowled 25 overs.
Yeah.
He looked pretty gassed towards the end. So, I think they've already got that down pat, Jihan.
I think he was struggling in the heat as well, like during the day. Because he was running around a lot in the field as well.
Yeah, he shouldn't be too unfamiliar with the
Barbados,
heat.
right?
He's from Barbados, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. It's like it's hotter in Barbados.
Well, some people don't like the heat, others do. Maybe he's one of them. Maybe he doesn't like the heat. So, but you would think someone from the Caribbean would be used to hot days.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
When I was in Barbados, it was really hot. I was struggling with that. I was like,
yeah, well, it's only going to get hotter in Adelaide. So during this test, it's going to be touching
38 or something.
Yeah, up in the 30s.
Yeah.
So it does get hot at this time of year in Adelaide. I should know, being a Adelaide boy myself, my home state, so South Australia. But going back to your question, Jihan, it's probably going to be another Ashes whitewash potentially. That's what it looks like. The writing's on the wall, basically. But we shall see. There's 3 test matches to go, and we shall see what happens come.
Well, I'm going to day 2 in Melbourne, so that will be good. Couldn't get tickets to Boxing Day. Apparently it's sold out. But
well, it would be.
Yeah. No, it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully
absolutely. Boxing Day, MCG test just after Christmas. It's the best time of year. So, so that's pretty much our thoughts from this 3rd Ashes test. And let's see how Australia and England will go in this 3rd Ashes test. Now, Jihan, some final thoughts before we wrap up our 2nd Ashes test review today. What are your final thoughts from this 2nd Ashes test?
Yeah, I think that last test match, I was there in Brisbane. I went to day 2 and a little bit of day 3. My favorite memory from the test match was the batting of Mitchell Starc and Scott Boland, to be honest. The way they grinded England down, that was fantastic. And second favorite memory was the confrontation between Archer and Smith, and how Smith stood up to him, really, to be honest. I didn't see him coming back with anything. I thought he would just brush it off, but he came back and it was a perfect line, because the best sledges have a little bit of truth in them, and that was fantastic. So great test match. It is irritating me a little bit how not all of them, but some of the English punditry are going on about how England had both of these test matches won, but only for a few mistakes.
Yeah,
they messed it up. But it's obviously not true. But overall, I think, and it's ironic because I think Australia can still be better. I think they can still be more ruthless. I think the top order can score hundreds and really drive the nail in. But at the same time, they were so good to score a big score, and for everyone to chip in, including the tailenders, that was great. But I think hopefully they can carry that. Oh, Steve Smith's captaincy whilst Cummins has been out was fantastic as well. He's taken the responsibility on, and he just wanted to. He really wanted to win these 2 test matches, and to be fair to him, with a slightly more limited bowling attack than he would have usually. But did really well, and I think we're going on to Adelaide now, and I think it's just time to secure those Ashes one more time.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more there, Jihan. Thanks for that. So my final thoughts before we wrap up our second Ashes Test review. It was a great win by Australia. 2-0 up reflects that. One win away from retaining the Ashes, and have put in the hard work, Australia, and they deserve to be 2-0 up in this series. England, disappointing yet again performance. Haven't learned at all from the first two tests. Poor batting, bowling, and fielding in this test match, but they face a very difficult task. It's an uphill battle to stay in this Ashes series. They're not out of it technically, but historically, it doesn't bode well for England. So it's going to be a long road back. That's the problem. You've only got yourself to blame when you're 2-0 down, and this is what happened in the last Ashes series in 2023. But that was different. This Ashes series in Australia is a lot different than the last series 2 years ago. But it was good to see Australia perform well, not so much if you're an England supporter. And there's quite a few disappointing England fans at this present time. But we shall see what happens for the remaining 3 test matches of this Ashes series. Thanks, everyone, for listening to our review of this second Ashes test between Australia and England. If you're watching or listening to this episode of the podcast on our YouTube channel, let us know your thoughts on this second Ashes test between Australia and England in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say. The Dibbly Dobbly Podcast has you covered this Ashes series. Be sure to subscribe to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast YouTube channel and click the bell so you don't miss out on any episodes on this Ashes series. Also, like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Thanks, Jihan, for joining me today to review the second Ashes test between Australia and England. Thanks, thanks once again there, Jihan, and thanks for watching and listening. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.